What is up, you guys? Today I wanted to take some time to do something that I kind of been putting off to do, and that is to talk about my coming out story. Ever since I came out as bisexual, this is something I've really wanted to do, and I never really took the time to do it because of some insecurities. But I wanted to take the time now, and I wanted to start talking about it. And why is this so important to me? Why is it that I want to come out and tell my story? Well, the main reason why is because I remember back before I came out, when I was in the closet, one of the things that would inspire me, one of the things that would give me comfort, one of the things that would give me ease and peace is to actually go on social media and look up coming out stories and listen to what other people who had similar stories to mine, what they went through. And I'm not here to say that my story was anything special. It was definitely different. And I didn't find a lot of stories like mine. I found some. But yeah, I like to talk about it. So I came out later in life. I came out probably when I was 36 years old. 38 now. So I've been out for about 2 years. And it's been a long journey from being insecure in the closet at the time I was married. I had a whole family to where I'm at now, where I'm single and I'm well divorced, and I have an apartment and I own my own, and I'm perfectly content with the way my life has turned out because, well, I want to talk about it. So I figured that I would dedicate like about 10 minutes at a time because I don't want to bore anybody with an overly long video. And I feel like I would lose details if I try to just rush the whole story in. So my format is kind of going to be, 10 minutes at a time, and I'll slowly tell my story. Now, um, what I want this to be. I want this to be empowering. And I guess this is like an intro because I come from a spot where I was raised conservative, evangelical, um, and I was so ashamed of my sexuality, and I hated who I was so bad. And I don't want anybody to ever feel that way. I don't want anybody to be in a position when they're on their knees praying for God to take away who you are actually inside, who you were meant to be, because it inconveniences some, because it doesn't align with the ways you were raised, because it falls into stereotypes that aren't true. And that's where I was. That's how I was raised. That's what I believed in. I was extremely uncomfortable with my sexuality. I hated myself. I hated my life. And my whole goal in life was for people to not find out that I was bi, that I was into guys. So I would get overly defensive about gay jokes, and I would just try to be hyper masculine for the most part, just because I just didn't want people to know. Um, and when I would have these feelings or these urges or feel these attractions, I would shame myself so bad, and I don't want anybody to ever feel like that. So going back to, I guess, how my attraction works. Um, Ever since I was very young, I was hypersexualized. Um, I was exposed to sexuality at a very young age against my will. I hate to talk about this, but it's part of my story. I was sexually abused as a child. I was 4 years old. And I guess I saw and did more things at that age than I probably should have. Um, and I hate the questions of, like, do you think you're into guys because of what you experienced as a child? I would like to answer no. Okay. And my reasoning behind it is I hated every single second of what happened that day. I don't know why I can recall such early memories because I don't remember anything else from when I was 4 years old. But I remember what happened on that day. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the smells. I remember the sights. I remember the sounds. I remember the words. I remember absolutely fucking everything. And it was traumatizing, and it was upsetting, and it was devastating, and it was it was a horrible, horrible experience. Um, but after that, my mind wasn't so innocent anymore. I started thinking about body parts and the way things worked, and body parts going into inside of other body parts and stuff. And back in those days, I remember ever since then, like I would be curious about both girls and guys. Always was. Like I don't know why. But never said anything about it. Like I wasn't gonna talk to my mom about sexuality. Hell no. Like my mom would have kicked my ass, Like sexuality is just not something we talked about in my household, like we didn't talk about sex. I remember one experience that I had when I was younger. Um I had seen a condom, and I mean this is my first time admitting it on camera. But I saw my condom because I had an uncle who had it out, and like he didn't know that I was there, and I questioned what was in the little baggie, and he just told me a condom, and I was like, well, what's a condom? Now, him knowing who my mother was, he didn't want to let me into the information because yeah, he would have had to face my mom. So I mean, he just kind of was like, you're too young to hear about this. I'm sorry that you saw this. It's just an adult thing. Um, just leave it at that. It's a condom. And I remember going to my mom out of curiosity and asking her, "Hey, mom, what's a condom?" And my mom going like, "Who taught you about that? I'm gonna talk to him." Like flipping the switch. I don't want to cuss on here too much, but just flipping out, and like I was scared. Like she was flipping out, and I said, "Mom, I don't even know. I just heard the word. What's a condom?" And she was like, "It's a very bad balloon, and we don't talk about condoms in this household." And I dropped the subject. So, I mean, sexuality was just not discussed, not in my household. So like I never talked about it. You know what I mean? And then as I was older, because I've always been so masculine, everybody assumed that I was just straight. I had, attraction to females. I had my little female, like my little girlfriend here and there when I was like in school and stuff, like when I was like in middle school and into, high school. So like it was never like, my sexuality was never like actually questioned or brought into the light by my family. Now, and at the time I always had my curiosities, but I never felt like an attraction to anything or anybody. Um, and then I guess my confirmation moment is what I'm gonna call it. Is at the time one of the things that I always did is I would always come home from school when I was a teenager, when I was in high school, and I would watch TRL. That was like my show. Like they would play, for those of you who are young, TRL was a show that played like the top 10 videos or whatever that people requested. It was Total Request Live, um, and it was the music videos. And at the time, Ricky Martin had just come out with "Living La Vida Loca," and that was playing on MTV left and right. You would hear on TRL, and I remember watching this video and not only thinking like he's cute, or like I wonder what he looks like naked. I remember thinking like I want to be inside that man. I was so turned on by Ricky Martin. It wasn't even funny. Ricky Martin was my first crush, and that was like my first confirmation of like, yeah, you're definitely not straight. So from that point forward, it was just a very self-conscious effort in my part to do everything that I could to change that, And at the time, I was also going through like a spiritual rebellion, so I wasn't really finding myself spiritually. My parents talked about a lot about like religion or whatever, but I just wasn't with it. It was later when I converted and started going to church and had my own trauma based on that. But at the time, I just didn't want anybody to know because I was afraid of anybody finding out, and I just rather keep it a secret. But yeah, that was the foundation of me discovering my sexuality. And that was part one. So I will talk about this more as time moves forward. But it was a nice chat. I love you guys.